Have you ever thought about buying property but stopped because it seemed way too complicated? You're not alone. Buying real estate can feel like a maze, but with the right guide, it's actually much simpler than you think. I'm Aguinaga here in the Montreal market, and since my own start at 18, I've been helping people turn the complicated into doable. With years of transactions, a deep network, and constant learning, I've seen it all. Today, I want to walk you through it. I will explain the step-by-step process of property buying, and I'll show you how it doesn't have to be overwhelming. My goal in this video is to break down the home buying process, simplify each stage, and introduce the team of professionals who will make it easier. So let's get started. First, choose a real estate agent. This should be your first step, and it's one of the most crucial. A good agent will help guide you through everything else, saving you time, stress, and even money. Make sure to interview a few different agents. Ask them if they've worked in the neighborhoods that you're interested in, how many properties they sell per year, and check their ratings online. Next, we have the financial side of the purchase. The first thing you should do is meet with a mortgage broker to get pre-approved. When you meet with them, you can discuss the different amortizations, rates, and terms that banks are offering. Once you're pre-approved, crunch some numbers and determine how much you're actually willing to spend on shelter costs per month. Just because the bank will lend you the funds doesn't mean that you should take them all. Going to the limit of your pre-approval will generally make you house poor. I'll take this time to also mention closing costs. Closing costs are one-time costs that you're faced with as a buyer whenever you purchase a property. They include the following: inspection. We want to make sure we know the ins and outs of the property that we're buying. I'll explain this in a bit more detail a little bit later in the video. Next, we have the notary fees. The notary will take care of the legal side of the transaction and will need to be compensated for their work. I'll deep dive into their role a little bit later as well. Now we have the adjustment of prepaid taxes. In Montreal, taxes are usually paid twice a year. Depending on when we are closing on the property, the notary will adjust the amount which the seller prepaid, but that he is no longer responsible for. Next up, we have mortgage insurance tax premium, if applicable. When you put less than 20% down, you have to pay a mortgage insurance premium. This amount varies depending on the down payment you put in. While you do finance the insurance premium on the mortgage, you need to pay the 9% tax at the time of the purchase. And finally, land transfer tax, also known as welcome tax in Quebec. This is calculated based on the higher of the sale price or the municipal valuation. In Montreal, the city uses a sliding scale to calculate the tax. For context, a $600,000 property will pay about $8,000 in land transfer tax. Number 3 in our list, we start the visit, research, and choosing a property phase. I like to tell our clients that we need to get mileage under our feet before we can buy a property. What I mean by this is that we need to see a few properties in order to help us determine what's truly important to us. By having visited several other properties first, we'll be sure to know when we find the right one. We will eliminate the doubt that tends to creep up in your mind as a first-time buyer. The fourth step is the negotiation and making an offer stage. At this stage, we outline the price, conditions, and dates on our offer. It's important to note that the offer is legally binding. Even if we do have contingencies in the offer, we generally can't pull out simply because we changed our minds. That would be in bad faith. Be sure you're ready to commit to the property when you draft an offer. Once you submit your offer, the seller will generally have 24 to 48 hours to respond. They can choose to accept your offer, counter your offer, as in, I like your dates but not your price, or I like your price but not your inclusions, etc. They can also simply reject your offer or not respond, which is the same as a refusal. The fifth stage is fulfilling conditions. Great, now you have an accepted offer. Now you have to start working on the conditions in your offer. These will typically include the inspection, where we're going to have a certified inspector take a look at the property. They'll go around verifying the foundation, exterior siding, roof, plumbing, electrical, etc. And at the end, they will prepare a report for you. It's usually about 30 to 60 pages long with pictures and explanations for everything that they saw during the inspection. Another condition we usually have is the document review clause. We want to see a copy of the current tax bills, utility bills, any recent renovation receipts available, and other documents of this nature at this stage. While we're doing this, we've also sent the file to our mortgage broker who is working to get our mortgage approved in parallel. We usually have about 15 days to get all of these things done. That includes time for the bank to send an appraiser if necessary. The sixth stage of the purchase is the pre-closing stage. We're almost there, just a few more things to do before the property is yours. At this stage, we need to get insurance. You'll want to reach out to a few companies for quotes. Make sure to get the appropriate coverage. I cannot stress that enough. Next, you're going to contact utility companies to schedule the transfer of services for your ownership. You want to make sure you have electricity when you move. Choosing your notary and sending them the file so you can prepare everything is the next step up. We want to make sure that we're going to be closing on the predetermined closing dates. The seventh stage is the closing stage. Yay! You now get to celebrate your purchase. On the closing date, you'll sign the deed of sale and typically get a set of keys to the house depending on when the occupancy date is. Note, it's not always on the closing date. Sometimes the sellers need to stay in the home for a bit more time. Don't stress, you would have negotiated this all on your offer preemptively. Now, let's look at the roles of the different professionals involved in more detail. Remember, you want to build your dream team in order to have the best support system possible looking out for you. First up, the real estate agent. We're here to guide you through the entire process and make sure you don't let your emotions get the best of you. We're like the quarterback on the team. We work with all the other professionals in order to make sure that everything goes smoothly. We bring our expertise to the table in order to highlight potential problems we foresee, as well as a different perspective to the visits. I like to bring up aspects of the home that I know will make it tough to sell down the road. My job is to ensure that my clients make the best investment possible, and thus, I want to ensure that they know the pros and cons of every property. Next, we have the inspector. Their job is to give you as much information about the health and well-being of the property as possible. They'll tell you what's up to code and what was done by an amateur. Make sure to hire an inspector that is experienced in the area that you're looking at. In our city, we have properties that are over 100 years old. The construction methods used back then are typically not up to today's standards. That being said, we're not going out and rebuilding all of these properties. The right inspector will help you navigate what's acceptable and what needs to be worked on. Now we have the mortgage broker. Their job is to get you the best possible mortgage. Notice how I didn't say the best possible rate? Yes, the rate is an important part of the mortgage, but the conditions are just as important, specifically the prepayment penalty conditions and the prepayments allowed. Be sure to review the fine print with them. This is super important. I cannot stress it enough. Fourth on our list, we have the notary. They handle the legal side of the transaction. They prepare the mortgage deed and the deed of sale. They'll make sure to pay off any outstanding liens so that you get the property free and clear, other than your mortgage, of course. They are technically an impartial party in the transaction, not representing the buyers nor the sellers, but rather applying the law based on what was on the accepted purchase offer. Now, I wanted to spend a bit of time demystifying common concerns and fears. Let's start with the down payment. People often worry about the down payment, and yes, it's a big part of the capital you will require, but you don't always need a huge sum. There are flexible options. If you're buying a residential property with the intention to occupy it, then you can put as little as 5% down on the first $500,000 and 10% down on the portion between $500,000 and $1.5 million as of December 15th, 2024. If you're looking to purchase an investment property, then your minimum down payment is 20%. The next thing I see keeping some buyers on the sidelines is the fear of hidden costs. It's normal to worry about extra costs, but most are predictable, like closing costs and taxes. Your agent and notary will help you plan for these in advance. It's also a good idea to keep a reserve for maintenance and capital improvements. Your inspection report will become your go-to reference for the regular maintenance items to take care of on the property. Now, mortgage rates can also seem to be overwhelming. Let's quickly break down the different types of rates. In Canada, we have fixed mortgage rates and variable mortgage rates. A fixed mortgage rate will remain unchanged for the duration of your term. Most terms are 1 to 5 years long. At the end of the term, you will have to renegotiate with the bank. Next, we have the variable rate mortgages. As the name suggests, these can vary by increasing or decreasing depending on the economic status of Canada. If the economy is doing well, there's a good chance they will increase the prime rate of Canada, which will in turn increase your rate. When it looks like we're heading into a recession, then they'll probably start reducing the prime rate. Prime is reviewed 6 to 8 times throughout the year by the Bank of Canada. Most banks will offer you a discount on prime for your variable rate mortgage. For example, they might offer you prime minus 1%. Today's prime rate is 5.95%, less 1%, your effective interest rate would be 4.95%. Your rate will change every time prime changes. There's so much to say about mortgages. If you'd like to do a deep dive on them, book a call with me. There's a link to my calendar in the description down below. Finally, legal documents can seem intimidating, but the right team of professionals will be there to explain them to you. Trust me, when I first started in real estate, the legal jargon seemed like another language. But by surrounding myself with the right team, I was able to get a deep understanding of them. Now, I pride myself on taking the time to explain everything in detail so that our clients feel supported and comfortable with what they're signing. I have been blessed to help thousands of families buy their first property over the years. Most of them never thought they would be able to buy a property. Especially when I first started, I was working a lot with the Hispanic community of Montreal, who had all arrived in search of the Canadian dream, and homeownership was a big part of that dream. 16 years later, meeting with some of my first clients to discuss a potential sale, it is so rewarding. I get to show up with a large smile knowing that I'm about to share with them how much their properties have appreciated since they purchased them. They're so thankful, and it reminds me that while we're not saving lives, we are changing them. The principal residence makes up the bulk of the net worth of most Canadians. Trust me, all of these clients thought that buying a house would be too complicated until they met with me. Here's a quick bonus. Keep an eye on areas that are being developed with access to public transit into town. Newly developed areas often give early buyers the benefit of lower prices with high growth potential as the neighborhood develops. So what do you think? Do you still feel that buying a property is too complicated, or are you feeling more confident? Let me know in the comments down below. If you're ready to start building your real estate portfolio or just want more guidance, book a call with me. I'm here to help you take each step with confidence. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching.